I love a crossover between two good franchises, especially when it's done right, and there are of course many examples of this. Funny enough, one that does come to mind is Marvel vs. Capcom, that series of fighting games. I really liked those games. I remember I had one on the Xbox 360. I guess come to think of it, I have only played one of them. But yeah, just a lot of fun. Well, there is a former Sega employee, Satoshi Okano, who has been teasing a very big crossover with Capcom, but this time it's not Marvel, it's actually Sega. Yeah, he has been teasing a Sega and Capcom crossover. He made a sort of cryptic tweet yesterday encouraging everybody to play Sonic the Hedgehog and Street Fighter, and then two other games that I didn't know about, Samba de Amigo and Kunitsu Gami. So this tweet said to play all four of those games. Two of them are Sega and two of them are Capcom. And he sort of, cryptically said, why am I saying this? Oh, I don't know, maybe I'll say it later, maybe I'll reveal later why I'm saying this. And then he also later added on that the four titles have something in common. And then he said, but what is Capcom versus Sega? I don't know, with some kind of cute emojis afterwards. And maybe some of that was kind of lost in translation, so to speak, but a lot of people are really jumping on this, really going crazy, saying that maybe this is actually a Capcom versus Sega game, like a fighting game very similar to Marvel vs. Capcom, or just in general, that this could just be some sort of crossover game with Sega and Capcom. That would of course be very huge. Now, I'm not extremely familiar with these two very big, massive companies, so I had to do some digging to see if they have ever done a sort of crossover event. The two that I saw, and maybe there are more, but yeah, the only two I saw are that one was, I guess Sonic had some DLC in Monster Hunter. So Monster Hunter is Capcom and Sonic is Sega. So that isn't, very big. And the other crossover that I saw was this game for the 3DS that released like 11 years ago called Project X Zone. It was a tactical RPG that was actually a crossover between Capcom, Sega, and Namco. Kind of one of those like smaller games that was kind of just a big deal because it was a crossover between these very big three companies. But that's it. That's all I could find with crossovers between Capcom and Sega. So nothing very big, not just like a very good, established AAA game that's ever been a crossover. So, I mean, yeah, this would be huge. Sega, of course, is a massive company. The main thing they have, of course, is Sonic, but they've got a lot of other IPs as well. And Capcom is also massive. They have Mega Man, they also have Monster Hunter, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, Ace Attorney, so just a lot of stuff. Yeah, two very big Japanese video game companies. They could be having some sort of a crossover here, and it would be very big if that did happen. Now, fans are, of course, using caution before jumping to a conclusion and getting really excited over something that maybe won't be very big. I saw one Reddit user commented that maybe this is just some sort of DLC for like a couple Sega characters in a Street Fighter game. So yeah, just, very big if this is true, very big if this is actually going to be a full-fledged Sega and Capcom video game, even if it's not a Sega versus Capcom game, like a fighting game. Whatever it is, if it actually is happening, I mean, it's going to be huge. Now, one thing I did see is that there is actually a Sega and Capcom crossover fighting game that's like a fan game. It's Sega versus Capcom. It's a sort of non-profit fan game. So that's kind of cool, but obviously fans want the real thing. I mean, besides that fan game, I don't know if a lot of people have really thought of the possibility or the really broad concept of these two companies having some sort of a big crossover game. But I think it really works. I think it would be so massively cool if it did happen. Maybe 2024 is the year that it actually does happen with this tweet that we are seeing from this former Sega employee. People's hopes of this happening are now higher, and I suppose the likelihood of this happening is now higher.